Flosstube. Welcome. This is the Garden Goose Stitcher Flosstube. Welcome back. If you're a regular, if you're new, hey, how are ya? My name is Teresa. This is a Flosstube about cross stitch and my garden, and usually a little goose tail, like literally. I have geese. This is episode 43. It is January 30th. It's been about a month since I checked in. Last week I would have liked to have checked in because my memory really starts to taper off after 3 weeks of what I've done. But we did go on a little getaway, and I'll talk about that later. I hope that you've been well and your stitching has been blessed. And we've been busy around here. Hockey, my son plays hockey for the local high school. It sounds weird when I say that. It's because he's homeschooled, but he plays for them. So we've been busy with a lot of games, a lot of practices. Thankfully, he drives himself to practices, but it still makes for a hectic dinner time when games are right at 6 o'clock. I shan't complain because he is a junior, and I know, man, the games are dwindling 1 year after this, and I know I'm going to miss it. I complain a heck of a lot, considering I know I'm just going to blubber when there's no more. So, we've been doing school, and it's been lovely in Michigan, to be honest. We've had a lot of sunny, cold days, but that sunshine on the snow really brightens things up. I don't know of anybody who's got seasonal depression this year because it has been delightful up here. Very cold. I think that yesterday it was 40 out of the blue, and everybody's looking around. Was it supposed to be 40? Because it has been below freezing for a long time, and that's fine because it's sunny, so you don't get the blahs. But you know, maple tapping time will come soon, so I'm glad that it's been real cold, because that means when the sap's gonna run, we'll know. Last year we had a really mild January, no snow hardly, and we didn't get below freezing very often, so it was a bummer. And we're running low on syrup. Anyway, let's talk about my stitching, because I have been stitching, and it's January, so I've had plenty of time and indoors. So last time we talked, it was just before New Year's. We ended up having a low-key New Year's at home, and I hadn't decided whether I was going to do the blessing sampler that I had ordered from Alicia, the Fanciful Flamingo. She did a blessing sampler box. It was a pattern by Annie, the Proper Stitcher, and I bought the box, but I think I'm going to stitch it this summer, or at least especially those motifs. We'll see what happens. But I decided to go with Chris the Camping Stitcher's blessing sampler for 2025. I did her 2024 sampler, and I sure do love it. It's a nice, beautiful stitch. I ended up stitching it on 36 count. Are you on the floor? I'll give you a second to get up. Hopefully your knees are okay. I stitched this on 36 count, Edinburgh, linen, and platinum, and it was delightful. I have stitched a couple of other things on 36 count, and one of them was very challenging. It was on a red fabric. I think it was Aztec red, but don't quote me. And I needed magnification for that, so I was very nervous about maybe I just can't do that, you know. But this stitched real fast, real easy, and so I think it must just be that darker fabric that gave me trouble. So I stitched this up in just a few days, the first few days of 2025. I haven't seen you since last year. Man, I almost forgot to throw that joke in there, and I only get to use it once a year. Oh, bummer. I ended up switching out the floss to Oxford Blue by Color and Cotton. You know, I love a Color and Cotton floss swap, and I sure did love that blue. Look at the roof. Oh yeah, the variegation is real nice. So this was my blessing sampler, the beginning of the new year. I stitched this first, straight out the New Year's Day. And so in theory, my needle should be blessed. In theory. I've had some trials this month that makes me think that's just a superstition. That's not true, because weren't we talking about other superstitions last time? Anyway, Oh, maybe online. Oh, I was talking about superstitions for New Year's on Instagram. And a bunch of people have the same ones. And I said I don't believe in superstitions because some people were eating grapes underneath the dining table at midnight so that they could find. I'm praying for them. Hopefully they do find the love of their life. But there was all sorts of weird superstitions going on social media. And I said, I don't believe in them, but I will be making sauerkraut and pork on New Year's Day. Just like because my grandma told me. Not because I'm superstitious, but because you do what your grandma told you. So, anyway. Okay, so if you watched last time, you know that I came up with my own personal challenge for the year. Which, do I have a great success rate of following through on my challenges? It's a no. It's not at all. But it's always great to have a goal. And so my goal was to stitch Anniversaries of the Heart each month. There's a whole bunch of people doing a sal that Jessica, Sweetwater Stitcher, and Carrie from Tiger Lily Designs, they started a friend sale to cheer each other on, and a whole bunch of people have jumped on. And so my goal was to stitch Anniversaries of the Heart, which is a big project, and then also to start a blackbird each month, and no real hope of finishing them. And but just to start them new, I do WIPGO, and so I didn't have a full WIPGO board this year, so I need to start new things that create whips, so I'll have a WIPGO board next year. Obviously you get and then to clean up some whips, so I am doing WIPGO. I did work on that, and then also to stitch on some series that I have several done in a monthly series, and I need to do a few more to finish those up. So those are my goals for the year. So Anniversaries of the Heart is my first one. I really want to stitch one of those a month. Technically I think there's 15 sections, and so I'll either need a good snowstorm that I'm stuck at home but hockey doesn't cancel for nothing. Truly. We'll all die on the interstate before they cancel a hockey game or a practice even sometimes. But so it'll be more than a year. But this month in January, this was the first pattern in the Anniversaries of the Heart Snow Garden. It's super beautiful. And I really thought that the fabric I picked, because it's a little bit brighter than this one, would show the whites and the grays better. Nope. So I ended up switching those out. And I think that Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, she has a Flosstube and she's on Instagram. She did Anniversaries of the Heart, and she really documented her progress as she went. And so I've been looking at hers. She's in the like if you look at the hashtag on Instagram, if they don't work that like they used to, but hers, and there's a couple other people who change colors and really share their progress, and that's always helpful for me because I'm a visual person. So I ended up changing some of the colors to be blues instead of grays, and just to brighten it up. I brightened up the house a whole bunch. It was supposed to be like a rusty brown. See that? So I really changed it up quite a bit, and I really, really like it. I'm stitching this on 28 count doubloon, and that is going to be big, but I really love stitching on this fabric, and I really enjoy stitching it. I flew right through this. I could hardly put it down. So I was having a great conversation with friends, several that are doing Anniversaries of the Heart and several that aren't, and are just, great stitchers, about, customizing these pieces with the initials and dates for people in your family to, as a memory piece. And so we were talking about this, and all along when I started this, I knew I wanted to stitch my dad's initials and his birth year. And we were talking about how we don't often do male memorial pieces or commemorate them in cross stitch. But do we? Or I guess we just mostly focus on the women because the women are the crafters. So I knew I was going to put my dad's initials in there. He died in 2014, so it's been over 10 years, and he was born in January, so I put his initials, Joseph Daniel Hoisington, and his birth year, 1954. I had a hard time squeezing that 4 in there. I had to change it, and I counted. Everything was right. I think it just, I don't know, I had two I don't know. So and then I ended up putting my sister, the initials of his 3 children. So because my mom and dad weren't married they were divorced a long time ago. And so I wasn't going to put like an anniversary block for my parents. Do you know what I mean? Listen, family's complicated, and it makes it complicated for doing these and figuring out who to put where, or who, like, so I ended up putting his 3 kids, Ben, Teresa, and Jacqueline, and I really like it a lot. So because I have 1 child, and I've been really meditating on who I'm going to put where in these pieces. And so we had a great conversation about putting males in to cross stitch pieces. And so I felt reassured after chatting with friends. But anyway, so I know that the next one is the February block. I'm going to put my son in there because he was born in February. It's a really fun house. I thought I pulled the pattern out. Oh, I did. Valentine Rose is February's Anniversary of the Heart. I'm really excited to stitch this. I love stitching houses. So Valentine Rose is, I'm going to put Nathan's, I don't know, maybe I will put his name in there in his birth year. But I'm going to put my husband and myself together in the Swan block that's in a couple months. And so, and he is my forever Valentine. But I also had a February baby, so I want to put him in there. And then the rest of the blocks will probably be grandmothers, my mom, and stuff, my sisters, and stuff like that. So we'll see how that goes. It's complicated with families. My in-laws are not married anymore, and so it makes it a little tricky when you're trying to plan stuff like that. There's a lot of, sorry about that. There's a lot of anniversaries that aren't going to be in this because they don't apply anymore. Anyway. Okay. So after Anniversary of the Heart, I decided to start a Blackbird, which is I'll show it to you later. But then in my finishes, I have a couple more. I went after those series that I have. I knew I was going to be whip stitching for a lot of the month. And so I really went after the series. And I thought I'd start with the easiest, obviously, which is the Sweet Barn. It's the center of a Lori Holt pattern. I think it's called Flea Market Baskets, but I don't know. And it's just the center. It's a medallion design based on a quilt pattern too, in the medallion quilt. And so this is just like the barn star that's in the middle of it, and they recolored it for each month, and then they hosted a sale. So they recolored it to be seasonal for each month. Super cute. I signed up. I only got halfway through. So, May is representing a lot of months out there because I'm missing June, July, and I think August, maybe September too. So I needed to do 6 of this series. So I thought I should jump right in because they're small and easy, but I do have the most of these to do. This is the June Sweet Barn Star. I recolored it I used the same color placement that they had, but I did use coloring cotton because I love variegation. They called for DMC and I switched it out to coloring cotton. This fabric is beautiful, isn't it? It is a 16 count Regency. Picture this plus. I got it at Craft Gallery. I had to look up who it was because they didn't put the dyer, but I love this fabric. Love it. I'd like a lot more of it. Probably need to buy some. So that is done. June is done. And I happen to have, last night, and it's in my car, I had to swap out my car stitch. I don't end up spending a lot of time stitching in the car lately because Nathan can drive himself to practice. But it turns out that a lot of the games are right when my husband's getting out of work. Usually he has to leave a few minutes early. But Nate has to be there an hour early. And then Dave's driving there straight from work. And so technically I could leave, 15 minutes before the game, but then we'd have all 3 vehicles there. And, I don't know if you've insured or put gas in a car lately, but it really, it's painful to have a teenager on your insurance for your pride, you know, like, dang. But, so in an effort to be efficient, I drive him. I sit in the parking lot for an hour beforehand, watch the game, and then I leave straight away, and Dave stays and drives him home because they haven't seen each other for the day. So I end up spending about an hour in the car stitching before the game. So I do have an ABC stitch, always bring cross stitch. And I kept my cottage of the month in there last month, but this month, I just put the next barns. What I was saying is I put July's barn in my car, and I left it in my car because I always have to leave it in my car. Otherwise, I'll forget it, and you never can forget. So that's in my car right now. It's in the works, and it's a nice, easy one because it's so small. I stitched last night. We went to a game. They got absolutely murdered. But it was a private school. And I think that I'm not sure, but I think that they like recruit like AAA players to play for their school. And go ahead. But so I stitched last night until 5 or 6 minutes until 6 p.m. in my car with no light because I had forgotten it. And I was able to sit in my car and stitch. It was light enough. And I was so happy. So anyway, so then after I stitched the Barn Sweet Barn, I started this guy up. Or I think I might have kit them up at the same time. I put this one right in my car. I stitched on a bunch in my car. And then I don't remember where I took this. I feel like I went someplace and I had to take cross stitch with me. Like an appointment or something. I don't remember. But I stitched this up in just a few days. When I first started these series, I was brand new and they took me like a whole week and a half or something. And now I can stitch one of these buggers up in just a couple of, like 2 days of good stitching. I really like this. I think I changed out that orangey color to something because I didn't have the called for, but everything else is called for. I picked this fabric at the beginning back in like 2019 or 2020 or whenever this came out. I know not, but I sure regret it because anything in white has to be backstitched. You had to backstitch my sheep. It's like a natural whatever 14 count from Hobby Lobby. Because when I lived in South Dakota, that's pretty much the only place I had to go was Hobby Lobby because I lived on the west side and there's no needle workshops out there. So, I mean, I was buying a lot online, like a lot. But so I stitched this up in a couple of days. I had to backstitch my sheep. There's worse problems in the world, you know. But another one of those done. I think I have 3 more of these. I feel like I had 6 of those, 4 of these, 6 of these, and then 3 of my Prairie Schoolers. So it was nice to get that one done. And then I think I kitted all 3 of these up in the same day just so I'd be ready to go whenever I could. This is a country cottage sampler. Sampler of the month. That's the cottage of the month. This is the sampler of the month. I signed up for both of those. And whenever this came out, it says copyright 2020. That's not true. This was a monthly mail, or it mailed automatically to your house from Fat Quarter Shop back in the day. Came with the fabric, came with the called for fancy floss. That's what I used. I think this is, well, listen, it calls for beautiful beige linen 32 count. And I wonder if this is beautiful beige 16 count because it is really pretty. And I did duplicate the motifs at the top. I found that when I have a bad attitude, I can't stitch the motifs twice. But I had a good attitude because I took this with me to Florida. I started it in the car waiting for the game bus on last Monday. Nate had a game. There was no school because it was Martin Luther King Jr. holiday day. So there's no school, but there was a game. There was a showcase down south about an hour on Mount Clemens or someplace. I don't remember where I go. It's a real problem. But Dave took him to the game bus because they had to be at the game bus at 7 a.m. Because they have to drive there and then they have to be there an hour early. So I got to sleep in a little bit till like 8. And then I drove myself down there and drove myself back up. And he rode the game bus back to the school. And I had to wait in the parking lot. And I got like this thing done. while I waited for the game bus. And then I took this the next day to Florida with us. We went to Florida last week. And if you are a Floridian, my sincerest apologies, because we did indeed bring you record horrible weather. I'm so sorry about the snow and the cold and the falling lizards. It was our fault. We thought we could get away for just a couple days for some sunshine and warmth. And guess what? Florida didn't have any of those. I'm so sorry. It was us. Do you know, usually Michigan has dreary, horrible Januaries. You know, we live in a peninsula. We have a lot of water cycle going on. We have a lot of overcast days with snow, not rain. But so we booked. After last year, I said, Dave, in January, we just need to find a sliver of a break of hockey and just go for just a couple days. Just a couple days. And so we did that. And I'll be darned, it was like 48 degrees and cloudy the entire time. And you could tell which northerners were going out to the beach anyway. We went down to Melbourne Beach. And it was beautiful there. And I really think I'd like to go back. I keep asking my husband, you want to just go back? Because he works for Allegiant, so we can fly down there for free. And so really, it's just the car and a hotel. But I sat there, we had a balcony, and I sat there stitching this with a good attitude, watching the waves. And I had the door open. Listen, I know it was 48, but I had the door open and the heat cranked up in my hotel room. I am not wasteful, but in this trip, I was going to feel warm and listen to the waves. So we walked the beach. It was you could tell who was from up north. And also, to be honest, 48 feels really nice when it was -2 while you were walking from the car to the airport and doing chicken chores that day. So it was so cold in Michigan that they actually called off school on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday they ended up calling off for the back roads were really terrible. So Nathan didn't end up missing, but Friday morning for school, they even called off hockey practice that one day because it was so bad. And that is saying something. It was bitter cold here. So, as we've almost died on the interstate more than a handful of times, so they don't care. But for some reason, we were down in Florida and they called off hockey, and I thought, gosh, it must be awful. Something must really be bad up there. I'm just going to sit here by the window and watch the waves. But you know, we walked the beach. And listen, we live in a peninsula. We have a lot of shoreline here. I think that Michigan might have the longest coastline. That's a fact. I take it back. I think it might be true, but I don't know. And you know, the waves were so bad, that it was so windy, that there was this huge trench on the beach. It was like 3 feet tall. We were watching the waves from our room, and then when we went down there, there's a huge dugout part of the beach from the waves, and it was deep. I didn't stand too close. I thought that's going to crumble, then I'm going to have to try to get my butt back up here. But we still had a really great time. We went to medieval times, and I mostly sat and stitched. And the boys went to Ron John's, the original, up in Cocoa. They went to a Space Force museum, not like the big one not the big one that's $80 and you take all day. It was like a little one, and it was free. So he went there, and David, there was a bunch of veterans working that place, and he had fun chatting with them. And then they went someplace else. Oh, to the original landing spot of Ponce Leon or something. I don't know. Oh, listen, we called it a day of school because they suspect it was the original landing spot of the Spaniard that came to Florida. I don't know. Anyway, so I had a really good attitude, and I stitched this on the plane in my hotel room, looking out at the waves, and on the way home, and I finished it up on the plane on the way home. So, and I do like it the way it looks with the repeating motif. I just wish that sometimes I had more patience, because we've talked about that before. I lack some. Anyway, so those are the things I finished. That was quite a bit. I feel like getting 3 of the 4 series started and one of those marked off was my best accomplishment this month. I was really, really happy with that. So what part of my new challenge is to start a blackbird each month. And this was the one I had picked for January. Winter Wonderland is part of the Loose Feathers. And I really love it, obviously, because it has geese on it. And I'm a little nervous about that border. I'm going to leave it till the end. I'll tell you. I'll show you why when I show you my whips. But I did start this and I had a good time stitching it. I've been really scattered. After I accomplish a whole bunch of things, do you ever just get really scattered and you can't focus? So this is all I've gotten started. It's underwhelming, isn't it? It's okay. This still, I mean, well, I probably won't pull it out next month because I have another new start. But this makes me happy to put it on my whip list. And also, you know, on my whip go for this year, I had open spots in a couple projects that I put on there twice. So in theory, if I were to open one of those up, then I could pull this back out. Because I did enjoy stitching on it. Oh, let me tell you about this. Oh, no, maybe not. I lost the sticker. Hold on. I think it's a 32 count. I think the sticker's in the bag. Yep. Hey, let me tell you about this. This is a 30 count gray legacy linen. It says Parisian gray. So I like it. It was a gift from a friend and I think she did a great job. Look at that. I'm picking that out. Part of me was thinking, well, I think that's probably why I was going so slow. Part of me was thinking about changing the geese to not be Canadian geese, but to being like a heritage goose like I keep. We have pilgrim geese. The males, the ganders, are white and gray. And I was thinking about the gray on the bottom of him, and I thought if I just stitch the rest of that white, it'd look like my gander. So I'll put a picture of my gander right in here so you can see what he looks like. The females are brownish, but they don't look like a Canadian goose. So nextly, my part of my series is the Prairie Schooler months, the big ones. I have 3 of these big ones to stitch left. March, and I believe it's June and July, but I did not bring my chart up. I made myself a handy chart, and the reward of checking those off of that chart, to the moon. Like, just what a joy to check those off. So I pulled this out, I think on Sunday. My husband works on Sundays, so I often find myself, you know, dinking around. And I pulled this out and I was like, oh, I better start my Prairie Schooler because I know this will take a long time. It's a bigger piece. And so I got a little bit of a start on that. And then somebody mentioned the Wordy Birds. And I thought, oh, I forgot to start my Wordy Birds. So I detoured, set this aside. But this was just like an hour or so. Listen, I've been watching. Okay, what have you been watching? I think I'm caught up on Sister Wives. But ugh. Why is that still a show? He only has one wife. But I've been watching Sister Wives. I've been watching The Walking Dead. I have like 1 season and a couple of episodes left of the original Walking Dead. I have a few seasons of Fear the Walking Dead because I just saw that there was a bunch of spin-offs and I really like to watch those. Ooh, it almost caused a problem. It arose such a clatter. But so I've been watching The Walking Dead because I saw that they have a couple of spin-offs now and I really want to watch them. So I've been finishing up The Walking Dead, the original. I have 3 episodes and then a season. So I don't know, that's probably a dozen or a couple dozen episodes, but 1 a day. Couple a day. My husband's not watching it with me. He doesn't like watching The Walking Dead anymore because they get themselves into the same problems over and over again. And he thinks that they should know better. And I also agree. But I do like the storylines. So anyway, so after I finish The Walking Dead, I think I'll go watch Fear the Walking Dead. And they have a lot less like gore and more storyline. Do you know what I mean? Like anyway. Hey, okay, my next whip. So last time we spoke, I was stitching on this guy. I was hoping I would finish him, but alas, I did not. It was Teresa Coe gets freebie from the Jingle Ball, our favorite elf. The other side of the pattern with the actual chart, the other one calls him a chunky elf. This one says favorite elf. It doesn't matter to me. He's super cute. I have a ton of fill-in to do. I only worked on this for like another day, or probably the day I did a Flosstube. And I got like half of his coat done. Last time I only had like a sliver, like a little bit. But it's tedious. So I do a couple strands of his beard, and I do a couple strands of his coat, and and I go back and forth. But he'll be a fun pickup for next year. And I think I did put him on my WIPGO. I'm not sure. Listen, have you got this size bag of Como bag? Ooh, I like it so much. I think I have 3 now. And it's like my favorite size because like a lot of times I do have little projects that I just want a little bag for, and I can keep it in my purse. So, okay. So that whip is going into the bag, like the picnic basket of whips. Better luck in January or December. Better luck next December. So, okay, my WIPGO. I am playing legitimate WIPGO this year. I am not rigging it to be a seasonal stitch. I am stitching what it was called. And unfortunately, a Christmas one was immediately called. I think I only have one Christmas. Well, unless I put the chunky elf. Anyway, so of course, Christmas Garden was picked. It comes from this book by Blackbird, Home for the Holidays. And I started this at the Jingle Ball. I only got to stitch on it one evening, I think Friday night when the Jingle Ball started. It is so beautiful, isn't it? And it doesn't like shove Christmas down your throat. So really stitching it in January for 5 days was not a big deal. I knew I was not going to finish this in 5 days. My gosh, it's going to take me 88 days. However, and unfortunately, and to be honest, I thought about not sharing about this because I hate talking about it. My border did not meet. I stitched on this for 5 days. And I was stitching on it the last day. And I realized as soon as I came to the bottom, and I was coming from both sides. It's such a bummer. So I got almost everything done. I got this close, and I realized that one of those is 3 squares higher. So these guys don't meet up. I cussed, explained to my husband my problem, and I put it away. And then a couple days later, he said, hey, where was your mistake on that border? And I said, I don't know. I put it away. And he said, when are you going to pull it out? I said, in December. And he's like, you're not going to figure out what went wrong. And so I pulled it out. I looked through every ding-dang square, and I could only find one mistake, which would only explain one square being off. So the pattern is regular, except in the corners. So in the corners, the way it turns is the only space that's not following the pattern. So in one of the corners, there's one square that's off. There was supposed to be 10 instead of 9, or 11 instead of 10, whatever. So that explains one. I checked every single square. So I thought I'm either off 3 squares in height somehow, or I've added 3 squares on the other side. Neither case seems to be the situation. I'm only off 1. I checked every single X. I'm not off by a half either. I thought either there's 6 half stitches off, or I'm off, and I cannot find a single X that's not properly stitched. So I do not know. And I'm going to tell you something, because you're my good friend, and you're not going to badmouth me about it, but I'm going to fudge it. When I pick it back up in December, I'm going to fudge it. So I think that I shall take the longer side, the side that's lower. And so this is the one that's up 3 inches too high. I'm going to tear this out And then I'm going to continue this guy across, and I'll fudge the pattern over here because the corners are all irregular anyway. So would you really notice it? I don't think so. That's what I've decided I'm going to do. Because my mistake is all the way up here. This thing is supposed to be 1 stitch longer. That's the only mistake I could freaking find. So this is on 30 count Mariner's map. Isn't it lovely? I love stitching on this. That's the biggest kick in the teeth, isn't it? Listen, if I hated it, I could just say I'm not going to stitch it anymore. But guess what? I really enjoy this fabric and this pattern. And like, I loved stitching. I love the colors. And so that's a bummer. I'll deal with it in December. Can I tell you that I did not, like, stitching in July, Christmas in July is okay, but I'd rather stitch summer pieces, I think. And so I don't know that maybe I'll do Christmas in July and at least rip that out so that when that part, the side that needs to get ripped out, at least rip that out so that in December I'm not starting with frogging. Because that would be pretty bad, huh? So, there's that. Okay, my next, what I did stitch on it 5 days, I'm still marking it off as a Whipco goal met. Because that's what I did. Technically, I spent another day with it when I was trying to find my error. The other Whipco that was called was Vibrant Flowers. This was a sale for my friend Holly Neal's 60th birthday last summer. And I spent 5 days with this. I took this to the beach as well. I spent like an afternoon with this. I finished up the house, the main part of the house. I started the roof, got that flower. Listen, that flower took me a minute. Stitched that cat and the stem, and I started framing out those windows. So I felt like I did pretty well with that. And I don't know how many times this one is. This might only be on my Whipco once. Some of the bigger projects are on my Whipco twice. So, all right. So those are my whips. I showed you my finishes. And I just have plans to show you. Hold on just a second. Okay, so my plans. I have my Blackbird that I have planned for each month. And this is really exciting. And I'm looking forward to it. I have planned to stitch What Remains by Blackbird Design. Isn't that beautiful? Wouldn't that be wonderful in February? So I picked out, I think this is Dames in the Needle, Graham Cracker by Shakespeare's Peddler. It's 36 count. I think it looks pretty nice, doesn't it? So I picked the called for. I might have to change it based on my fabric, but I'm really excited to start this. Part of me wants to start this first. But I'm trying to be good. I'm going to do my Anniversary of the Heart, and then I'll start this. And then I'll do my 10 days of Whipco. So that is my Blackbird new start for the month. Also, you know how I was talking about my ABC apostrophe S goals? And look at this bag. I think I got this in Florida. I can't remember. No, maybe not. Maybe I ordered it. It's got a goose on it. But, oh, there's just a flurry at the bird feeder. I came up with a fun prize, and I'm going to tell you about it after this. But, it makes me so happy. So, I get to start a new Blackbird, stitch on my Anniversary of the Heart, clean up some whips, stitch on my series, and then if I get all that done, I made myself a Plum Street prize. I was so overwhelmed by inspiration watching everyone's whip parades and plans and watching everybody flaunt off their Plum Street whips or plans to start. And so I went through my Plum Streets, pulled out 12. And if I get everything done on my ABC apostrophe S's, then I have a Plum Street prize. Let me show you. Hold on, it's right here. So this, I got this basket, and inside are 12 Plum Street kitted projects. They're not in bags. They're just the floss and the fabric I pulled. So I have pulled out 12 Plum Street prizes ready to go that I can pull out of this bucket. Some of them are real big. Look at this one. This is my first one. Should I start this the very last day of January? Is my Plum Street prize? Oh, if I get my wordy birds done. Oh, where's my wordy bird? Hold on. I have one more start. One more new start. It was a wordy bird January. Woo, by Sweet Wing Studio. And I'm stitching this on Aqua Fresca 16 count, which is the called for fabric. It's a little bit different because obviously she calls for 32, and I know the dyes come off differently in different counts, but my whites sure are washed out there. So I picked a darker blue for this. It was supposed to be the lighter shade. And then the flowers that are, this repeats up here, but it's not back like surrounded. I think I'll skip that and I'll just put in snowflakes. See this? I think I'll just put some snowflake buttons instead. I always like doing that. So I've been stitching on this for a couple of nights, and I think maybe today's the day. We don't have hockey or nothing. Oh, I wonder what I'm making for dinner. Oh, I pulled chicken out. I'm not behind. Okay, so so this is what I'm currently working on. If I were to get this done, I could pull a Plum Street prize. Maybe I shall pull a Plum Street prize anyhow, because this is America, and in America you can do what you want. Okay, listen. At least in cross stitching, you have to follow the laws of the land. Okay, so my whips for my whip go calls for February were very interesting. One of them was But God by the Bay Needle Arts. I started this with my friend Holly. I think she was stitching through stress. And I usually, whenever she's stressed, I've probably already been stressed. So I picked up and stitched along with her, just as like, it's a nice way to be able to stitch along with somebody who's going through something, and you can kind of meditate and pray for them while you're doing it. What is this fabric? I sure would like to know. It's beautiful, isn't it? I'm gonna look at my bag. I have quite a bit done. I gotta do that whole sunflower, and I bet you that'll take me a minute. I also think that I'm fudging quite a bit. I think something's off somewhere over near the house, or I'm not sure. So let me see what this fabric is, because golly, it's pretty. I usually leave the stickers or the tags on. Ooh, that's unfortunate. Did I fill out a project card? Everyone wants to know. I did. And I did not write down the fabric. Oh no, that's terrible. Hey, I'll have to check my records. Oh shoot. There's no tag or nothing. Well, that's disappointing, isn't it? It sure is a pretty fabric. Wonder if I mentioned it in my previous Flosstube. And maybe I'll let you know. If it's down here, then I found it. That's sad. Because I kind of would. Wouldn't you like to have more of that in your stash? I know I would. Whatever it is. So that's one of my whip goes. I'll enjoy 5 days with that. For sure. Oh, shoot. And then, actually, did I start that in February? I kind of wonder if I started that in February. Did I write down the date? I did not. What's the point of the project card then, Teresa, if you're not going to put in the fabric or the start date or nothing? Anyway, my other whip go call I'm really excited about. It's Prairie Life Sampler by Heartstring Samplery. And my printer looked funny on this, huh? But this was a birthday sale for Christy, the cousin, from Lost Boss and Cousins. Hold on. Words get hard for me. And I think I planned to do this like at the last minute. Like I even bought the PDF and printed it right out. And this is all I got stitched. Her birthday was at the end of February. And I thought it was funny that it got pulled in February. It's like a year later. Here I go. But you can see, underwhelming start, but I did enjoy stitching on this very much. Let me see if I know what fabric this is. Otherwise, maybe just another cross-stitch channel might have more information for you. Look at, isn't this bag perfect for it? It's by Tammy Blaylock, Creative Country Girl. And I thought it was perfect for this prairie sampler. And plus it's a biggie. Ooh, here we go. There's a needle in it, or pin, and I don't want to get stuck. Fog. Are you sure? What the heck? Fog. Picture this plus 32 count fog. Started this February 27th for Christy's birthday. And I apparently, I did a DMC conversion. So, 32 count fog. It's pretty though. Isn't it? So I'm excited to spend a few days with this. Maybe I'll restart, oh shoot. What's the Hardys? The Hallmark Channel show with the people that live out in the prairie. Well, it's not the prairie. But what's that called? Call of the Heart? I don't know. It's a Jeanette Okie book. I read that whole series when we were overseas. Have you ever read the Jeanette Okie books? Do you say Okie or Oak? It's O-K-E. And it's like all the like pioneer people going out west, and it's such a lovely series. And then they had this spin-off, Call of the Heart. Is that true? I'm sorry if you're yelling at your TV or your computer, yelling their proper names. I'm sorry. But I do love that series. And then they have that show on Hallmark where some of the people left because they went to prison. But I think she's back. Aunt Becky went to prison. Anywho, if you know what I'm talking about, good for you. Because it's really sentence fragments that I'm spitting out here. And I'm so sorry about that. Call of the Heart. It's about the teacher in the mining town. Okay, I have a little bit of haul. And also, I wanted to show you, I have since we've spoken. Last time we checked in, I had just received this. I had not done a single thing with it. But since then, I've stickered it up. And I think I went overboard. Mostly because somebody else said that they went overboard, and I think I used more stickers than them, so apparently I went overboard. Like, really. But I love my book of days, and I love sharing it too. So, but I'm going to show you. I don't think I filled in last night. Yesterday, Tuesday, there was a game last night. So I keep my finishes over here. The big thing about this is, like, what is everybody doing to cover up this little saying here? Is everybody leaving the saying, or I really had a hard time. Some of them look pretty. This is my February. They look bright and cheerful. At March. In a couple months, a couple weeks, my greenhouse will be starting to warm up. I cheat and I go, so even if it's cold out, the greenhouse gets real warm in there. And so even in late February, a lot of times it'll be 70 out there, and I'll go sit out there. I'll stitch. I'll take Nate, make him do school out there. April. May flowers. June, July, August, September, October, November. It's kind of light. Maybe I need another pack. And December. So my book of days is, I've been keeping it and I love it. So, okay, let me talk a little bit about haul. I have not bought a lot, although yeah, no, I haven't. So I did buy the mystery Valentine. Okay, firstly, I didn't bring it up here. I bought the bird bag, this by Como Stitches, the one that has birds all over it. That's what I've been keeping my wordy birds in. It's super cute. I love this size, I told you. But I also ordered the mystery Valentine, and it came with like the conversation hearts and a pretty pink floss, and so I bought that. And I love this size. I got the February wordy birds. I pre-ordered, or like I signed up for the club through Heartland Quilts. Heartland Quilting. Something like that. I ordered a little bit of floss. Literally, this haul is very underwhelming. I think this either goes to my February Blackbird start, or I think I was missing one or two from the Anniversaries of the Heart. I've been ordering, I ordered a ton of floss on Etsy through a couple of different places. Hollis Hands and somebody else. They ship real fast and they do a good job. But, listen what I did. Did you buy those Kohana scissors? They had a New Year's like pack, and it was like a gift thing, and it came with a bunch of stuff. It came with a little tape measure. Of course, it's in metric. Did I ever tell you about the time my husband and I had to build a fence for our base house because we had a dog, and you had to build your own fence, and you had to chart it out on graph paper and take it to the water place and the housing, and I had to go to and the fire department in all these different places to make sure that my measurements of the fence I was going to install were correct and not a safety hazard. And then you had to go to a lumber yard, not a store, but like where they had logs that they were turning into usable wood. And we had to, it was like a Japanese lumber yard. And we had to go get 2x4s and 4x4s in the metric system. And then we had to haul them in my Toyota Surf, which is basically a Toyota 4Runner. It was all red. It was the ugliest Surf on base. There was a lot of Toyota Surfs on base. And so a lot of times I'd come out and there'd be 4 red Toyota Surfs in a row at the commissary. And I'd be like, oh no, what's mine? Which one is mine? Oh, the ugliest one. Because it had red rims, but like the way the red was, it was like almost orange, and the red steering wheel, the entire interior was red. Anyway, it was cheap. Everybody just got cheap cars because, anyway, it was a diesel. And you know that I messed up the starter thing because you had to push this primer button first and then start the truck up or the car because it was a diesel. And then so basically my husband thought I was a moron. Because he had explained to me I needed to do that, but apparently I didn't realize how long I needed to push that button. And anyway, so then one night we went to play cards with our friends, and it was very hilly where we were because we were really close to the ocean. So they built up housing because of tsunamis and stuff like that. So one night we were coming home from playing cards with friends, and I was driving, and the brake lines were out of my car in my Toyota Surf. And I was like, Dave, I don't think I have brakes. And he's like, what? Because obviously, and it turned out my brake lines were out. He took it to a mechanic off base, and he's like, yeah, look, your brake line's broke. And so I was right. I'm not a total moron. And I drove home in the winter on icy roads, on hills, without proper brakes. What were we talking about? What the heck? Oh, the wood at the lumberyard. So we would have to go with our list of what we needed to build this fence. Truly, the one time we almost got divorced was building that fence in Japan. And so we had to go to the lumberyard and tell them what we needed in millimeters and centimeters. Oh, it was such a trial. Also, FYI, now all of the units have their own fence installed by the base, supplied by the base. And do you know how much wood that was and how expensive it was? It was very expensive. And then we sold it when we left. Like, we pulled it out of the ground and we listed it up on the base, like, classifieds to sell that junk because we spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on wood and labor. And then we had, anyway, let's keep talking. Okay, so the metric system. But it's still a cute tape measure. Also, it came with a needle minder. That's so cute. It's like clay. And then there was a threader, but then I misplaced it. And it also came with a kit. This is the first time one of those gift bags has come with the kit. It came with floss and everything. And the pattern is very pretty. It's some Japanese cherry blossoms. And also, guess what? So I was really excited about this when I saw that it was a kit, because you know that next year we're planning on going back to Japan. Next year for spring break. Every year we really take a spring break that we enjoy. It's been nice to be homeschoolers because we can go off season. We don't go at the end of March or the beginning of April. We go in February when it's freezing and we want to go someplace that's not packed full of people, and airfare's cheaper and hotels are cheaper. So we've really enjoyed spring break throughout the years. This year's a little tricky because Nathan's going to the vocational high school for HVAC. So we have to align our trip with the rest of the people. But next year, our last spring break when he's a senior, we've always planned to take him back when he was 18 to Japan so he can see where he was born, see where he came from. And so it's a big trip. It'll be expensive. I might not be retreating next year. Retreating this year, you guys. I got 7. But, so I thought, oh my goodness, next year when we go to Japan and we have a 12-hour flight, or probably 10 or something. I don't know what it is. It used to be 12 hours. And we have to do all that, like ride in the bullet train, because we'll go up to Misawa, get some yakisoba at cheese roll. Oh my gosh. There, in the 17 years since we left Japan, my God, I cannot tell you the number of times I thought about booking a ticket just to go get some chicken yakisoba at cheese roll. So we're excited to go back is what I'm saying. Take him there so he can see it. He's going to hate it. He has such a sensitive gag reflex, and it just smells like fish so many places. I can't wait to take him to the fish market. I gotta take him there. If he doesn't retch or actually vomit, I'll be impressed. Okay. Anyway, so when these scissors, I'm going to show you these scissors. When these scissors came with that pattern, I thought, oh, that'll be perfect to take with us to Japan. But these scissors came with it, and they are pretty. They're like this really pretty corally red color, and I'm going to show you compared, because I have quite a collection, and I think I have not shared these because, well, I forgot legitimately. But also I bought a couple pairs during my break of Flosstube, when I had when I didn't Flosstube this summer. So you can see the color variants. Hold on, let me put something behind it. See the different colors? See that raspberry red that I got in like the winter, right before Christmas they had one. And so you can see the difference between the red and the orangey red. Aren't they different? So I really love them, and I've been using them a lot. So that was part of my haul. Came straight from Japan. Also, if you don't think I'm going to the Kohana store in Tokyo when we go next year, you'd be mistaken. I am sure as heck going. I'll let you know. Can you imagine if you could just go to the Kohana shop? I'm gonna. I don't care what our schedule looks like. Oh, anyway. So I think that's all. I didn't have a lot of haul, but I also, have been busy stitching, and other than floss to kit things up, I haven't really needed much. So, I don't have any plans to buy anything else. Although Market's coming out, they're going to start showing all those teasers, and it's going to be brutal. So, anyway, I think that's all. I will check in a couple of weeks, a few weeks, 3 weeks probably, because after 3 weeks I start to forget everything. So I hope that you are having a wonderful new year and your needle has been blessed, better than my border. But I'll talk to you in a few weeks. Thank you so much for all of your kind comments, and I just appreciate all of you subscribers and commenters, and I really appreciate you. So thank you very much for being so kind. And I'll talk to you next month. And happy stitching, friends. Bye-bye.